Hello and welcome back for the final time this season, maybe.
Mm.
But I don't think the season's actually ended since about 2019.
No, we're in a continuous season. I think all of our life is one season
Yeah,
that just goes
so
on forever. It's certainly
it's
how it
like
feels to me.
Bridgerton having releasing half a season
Right, yeah.
and releasing the other half. Not even like a
But
good bit later. It was like a month, I think.
that's exactly what's happened here. Is rugby season's been split up to qualify for different Emmy years so they can be nominated twice. That's what's going on with the rugby seasons as well, I reckon.
And much like Nicola Coughlan from Bridgerton and Derry
Mm.
Girls and Ireland, she still hasn't won the big one. Um,
I the thing is, I'm just glad Nicola Coughlan's getting the work. You never see her
yeah,
in stuff on
same.
TV, do you? She's
Yeah.
never in anything. So I'm just glad she's getting work. She
She's a
needs
bit
it,
like a
clearly.
Connacht player, isn't she? She puts in the work, but just never gets in.
It's
Um,
always a delight to see her.
and she's also 37, which is
Yeah.
disgusting. Like,
Well,
how can you look so young and be 37?
she's like 6 years older than the matron in Derry Girls. Like,
Yeah, that's mental. Um, so we are Ospreys Eyrie, back with our tangents, and yeah, for probably the final time for this half of the season, we're back. The schedules didn't align really last week.
hmm.
Robbie, you were on a casting mission for the Toby Booth movie, weren't you?
That was it,
In
yeah.
Scandinavia.
I went to the country of Scandinavia in hunting for someone to play Lance Bradley. I needed someone windswept enough. And you know what? It was a real struggle. It was a real struggle. I just couldn't find anyone in Scandinavia just like striking enough looking.
So where did you go? Was it Sweden?
Yeah, so I was in Stockholm for a few days with me and my partner. We were in Stockholm for 4 days and then 4 days in a kind of cabin about half an hour outside it, which was beautiful and kind of near the sea and
Beautiful.
lovely. But I mean, the thing about Sweden this time of year, particularly where we were, is there's about 2 hours of night time a night. Like it's dark for about 2 hours. So like I can check the photos of like at 3 a.m. where it looks like it's sort of 8 a.m. in the UK. And so my body wasn't sleeping because it was constantly convinced it was the daytime. It just couldn't get it into its head. So like it was relaxing and everything other than the fact I basically didn't sleep for a week. So really
you were in the,
confusing time.
you were in what, the Stanford prison project,
Exactly,
not being
yeah.
able to sleep,
It
but
was
you're in a
like
cabin
I
outside
was
of
living in
Stockholm.
Midsummer. Like
Yeah.
I thought Florence Pugh was going to emerge as a bear any minute.
Oh, good film.
Great film.
Yeah. So obviously, no Yeston tonight.
Mm,
He's busy doing other things, writing 8 million articles, but also relaxing, as is his
I hope
right.
so.
Yeah, that
He
boy is
deserves it.
one of the hardest workers in Welsh
Yeah.
rugby. Yeah, how he fits it all in, I have no idea.
It's like it's James Ratty then him. Like that is the ranking. That's
That
where we're
is the
at
boiler.
now.
That is the
It's
boiler house
like
Wales truly needs. Not Matthew Screech and Ben Carter. They need
imagine.
Yestin and James Ratty.
That's no, that's what we're looking at, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
top of the list. Yeah, deserves a little lie down at least. That's what I hope
Speaking
he's doing.
Speaking of Sweden, sorry to divert.
No,
Didn't
please.
a Swedish player sign for
So for
Nottingham?
Nottingham, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
brought him back with me. Yeah, it was like the morning of my flight. I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, there's a. I was just like, oh, I'm bringing back a Swedish prop with me, back to back to Notts.
He is the Swedish Thibaut Flamont, though, because he was playing for Loughborough, I'm pretty sure.
Of course. I think he's at
Um,
Notts Uni at Uni of
not
at the
to you.
minute.
Oh, not to uni, was it? Oh,
With
okay.
our friend, the fullback that we might sign, um,
Yeah. Well, we've heard
who
nothing
probably
about
lives
him.
around the corner from me. I probably like run into in Tesco at, you know,
Uh, Not to be
half
the
10.
English Championship pods, because Charlie Beckett's a great human. Um, Nottingham have put together a nice little squad for next year.
Yeah.
They've got they've lost David Tuetti, which I was gutted about.
Mhm.
Which I was kind of hoping we'd sign him because obviously
Okay.
we had his dad in 2003. Um, and his dad still speaks very highly of the organisation. But
Oh,
they've
cool.
also signed Gwyn Parks at 10,
Okay.
who was part of that Swansea University squad, who got promoted and sort of had a really good year in Buck Super Rugby, who then went to Amptill.
Mhm.
He's also responsible for like one of the longest drop goals, I think, in rugby.
Oh wow. Oh, is he the guy in the uni
Yeah, and
Bucks
that's
League that
him.
went? Yeah,
And he
yeah.
just absolutely wallops one.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so whisper it slowly. Yeah, whisper it quietly. Sorry, Nottingham. Good team.
They've
Uh,
also got great pub quiz question answer. Sebastian Ferreira, the Germany
ooh,
lock, who's
hello.
very decent player, decent yeah, German second row, who was the first German international to play for Saracens. And who did he play for Saracens against?
Was it
But the
us,
Ospreys.
the Parker Pen Shield or something?
Yeah. Ninth played at the off the bench away to Ospreys when Saracens won 21-9 in 2014 in the
Ooh,
Anglo-Welsh Cup.
that's prime Dan Suter territory.
Oh yeah.
Sam Lewis would have finally got to start a game. Sam Underhill would have been knocking around early Gareth Thomas days, maybe. Yeah,
Possibly.
that was early Gareth Thomas days when he was like fifth choice. Oh, that does seem. Saracens, would Steve Borthwick have been? No, Steve Borthwick was
Steve
not
Borthwick has
retired
still been there. That would have been like right at the end of his career, I think.
right at the end because
Yeah,
he
because
was.
he retired in 2014. Yeah,
Yeah,
and went
he
to
was the
Japan.
forwards coach for Japan, wasn't he? The year
Yeah,
after.
but he was brought in. He retired because Eddie Jones wanted to bring him in.
Yeah.
I was at the Knoll, man.
Oh God,
7 penalties
that
by Ben
that wouldn't
Spencer.
happen. That wouldn't
Seven
happen.
penalties by Ben Spencer, 3 by Sam Davis. I vaguely do remember this game. Ashley Beck played his first game back from injury.
Shock.
Yeah, Gareth Thomas got sin-binned. Young
Okay.
Gareth Thomas. That
Duncan Jones might have been in this game, maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think he was playing. He probably was end of his career there.
He was in the squad, like he was in the
Mm,
wider squad. Was it 20? I think it was 2014, or it might have been the year after actually. That we had like a severe Lucid prop crisis,
mhm.
or we were having to play Nicky Smith and Ryan Bevinson, who were third and fourth choice, respectively.
Okay.
But this is a
Well,
tangent that
no,
we've
I'll tell
gone.
you what. There is a great addition though, right?
Oh, okay.
Um, captaining for the first time was Mario Itoje for Saracens.
Oh, oh,
Um,
wait. What
against
year was that
20-year
Junior
old.
World Cup?
Yeah, it was straight out of that Junior
That
World
was
Cup. So it's a
yes.
third game for Saracens, Mario Itoje. Ospreys had 4 debutants, right?
Yeah.
Alid Jenkins, who I don't
No,
remember.
no memory of him.
Gareth Thomas, who's obviously
Yeah,
gone on to be all right. That's gone
good
all right
play.
for him. Rory Thornton, who at the time we were all optimistic about.
Yeah, we had a
And
great under 20s.
yeah,
Well, no, he would have still been like 18 at this point, I think.
was he? Wow.
2014. Was he not in the 2016
No, he
Grand
wasn't. No, he
Slam
was
winning
gone by
team?
then. No.
Okay, so yeah, he was probably about 20 then at this point.
Yeah. And Ifeanyi Boladao, the Fijian
Nice.
number 8 that I remember fondly because he was shit. He
Okay.
was really bad. And you're like, oh, we've got a massive Fijian number 8, but he didn't know how to go forwards. And I remember like the highlights really posting. He signed for Leicester after leaving the Ospreys. And his highlights really posted had a clip of him running backwards and sideways a bit that they'd cut to a camera angle that made it look like he was going forwards, but he wasn't if you looked at the markings on the pitch.
Oh man.
Great player, Boladao.
I again, we've gone on a horrible tangent. We've done an inadvertent good player,
Mm,
but I don't care. Because we weren't even planning on doing good players
no.
tonight. You'll find out later. But now we have. That Junior World Cup with Mario Itoje, just I think was it against Australia? He just steamrolled everyone. I remember watching it live. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
and he was a freak. And this was
Oh, he was, yeah.
because this is when he started. He's like basically a skinhead, like straight out of Harrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he was amazing. Great player.
And that like Junior World Cup final is one of the greats if you look over those
Yes.
teams. Yeah, it was just like no, it was that year. It was more the year before, I think. It was with Farrell and Ford and against like a New Zealand team like Bowden Barrett and Gareth Anscombe,
Yeah.
and all sorts like
Well, that was the Wales team that had who was in that Wales one?
Oh,
That was
sorry,
the
yeah, 2012 was the New Zealand
2012, wasn't it?
England one, yeah, which
Yeah,
was unbelievable. Um, and then you had the 2013 Sam Davis
yeah.
year.
Jordan Williams.
Yeah, Ellis Jenkins,
Yeah, Ellis
hell of a
Jenkins.
team.
Yeah, that was when
Then
Jordan Williams was good.
that 2014 England team, Nick Tompkins at 13, one of the
Yeah,
best players of all time. But the South African team had like an 18-year-old Andre Pollard because I remember looking stuff for the Pollard video.
yeah.
The Creel brothers, Andre Esterhazen, Thomas Latour. Like it was like a third of the World Cup winning team, and then the next one
Argentina
came
would have had
through.
a handy squad then, I think, if I
Oh,
remember.
probably.
If I'm getting age
Random over on
profiles
the
right,
bench. Mm.
Argentina might have had a handy squad by then.
And
But we digress. We do
Yeah.
have to actually talk about Ospreys related stuff.
Yes.
In our spin-off Junior World Cup
Yeah.
retrospective pod, so maybe you should do a sub shoot of your.
That's it. We're coming on to Junior World Cup, aren't we? Oh yeah. That's a great
Junior
idea.
World Cup pod. Do the one where they just played most of the games in the Liberty and it had Tipperick Walker.
Yes.
The best one.
Yeah. Dan Watchurst completing the back row. Josh Turnbull was there.
Yeah. He was 26, but he was still there.
Yeah. They just let him in. Like, well, this guy never played under 20s.
Yeah. Right. So let's do some news. This is all out of order because we've been away for various things. So Anthony Cole Johnson, it was speculated that he had left. Some rumours came out that he left under bad terms. I don't think that was the case at all. And it's now transpired that he's become the chief executive officer of Richmond RFC, which is a fantastic opportunity for him. He is a West London boy, big Fulham fan. So sort of being part of that pro club who's, on the way up, rebuilding still, a great women's section. So yeah, all more power to him. I hope he succeeds. Yeah. I do like Richmond. It's not helping the Ted Lasso allegations of Randy Ospreys. So yeah, Anthony Cole Johnson gone. So we'll be getting a new head of sales, not commercial director. It's head of sales. That's what Lance Bradley advertised. There was an Ospreys Awards evening.
Yeah.
So the 20th? 20th. It would be the 20th.
Yeah.
It's the anniversary. 20th, the 20th annual Morgan Morris Awards. And Morgan Morris didn't win anything.
This is it. Is it the handing over to the Morgan Morse Awards?
Handing over. So Morgan Morse scooped up varying amount of awards, looking like a junior golf pro.
Yeah, it did a bit.
I don't know how to feel. It's not a black tie event.
I know.
See, I'm a sucker for like clubs having their own ones or having like, a look like Exeter have it. Northampton do as well. So
but like,
so we go on.
Toby Booth, much as we all love him, is there in a t-shirt?
Yes, this is what's getting, and it's not like a plain t-shirt; it's a graphic tee as well.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, James Ratty, look, not to spoil it, but is there in a plain black polo shirt, and you're like, you know what? Fair enough, that counts, that works. It's like smart casual. Yeah, or maybe just very happy to see us.
Whoever he's at a table with, he does not trust to hold his wallet.
Oh, there's such a visible wallet in this pocket.
Yeah, that is what I'm on about.
It's like the guard in a video game that's got the key that you can see through their trousers, shining. That's incredible.
Morgan Morse is wearing cargo shorts.
Yeah. A lot of pockets, plenty of pockets.
A lot of pockets to hold all his awards.
Yes.
Who else? So Justin Tipperick, ever looking like if this was 2007, he'd be on his way to an indie night. Is the best because he's wearing black. No, they're not skinny jeans, but they are definitely slim fits.
Yeah.
With his hair slicked back.
Kind of become his thing. Pips.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love this new age Justin Tipperick. I love this camping in the woods, living in the wilderness, living off the land, eating lots of raw berries, Justin Tipperick.
But it's not the wild. It's just like the field of Trebanos Rugby Club.
Trebanos, yeah. Just eating berries he finds near Tesco.
So yeah, Ratty scooped up players player. I think he also scooped up coaches player, which he's holding backwards in the photo. So he's taken his wallet with him, and he's got his award backwards in the photo. Morgan Moore scooped up young player. I think he also scooped up try of the year and supporters player as well. So all in all, good night, and shout out to the various staff members from the wider squad who picked up awards as well.
All I'm saying is I've been into the Ospreys camp twice. I've played video games with players twice, and both times the first person I played with has gone on to win Player of the Season.
This is true.
So I'm not saying that this explains it. I'm not saying there's correlation here, but it is 100% if there was.
Okay.
Also, James Ratty's phone is incredibly visible in the other photo of him with tips.
Right.
His trousers are slightly too tight, and you can make out a very clear outline.
Is James Ratty an Android or an iPhone?
I'm pretty sure he's an iPhone user. Okay. I saw him on his phone.
He gives off big Android vibes. I don't know why.
I get that. Yeah.
Just robust, hardworking, underappreciated.
Yeah. He's also. No, go on.
Moving on. Daniel Casenda is not joining the Ospreys. I'm sorry, guys. The postman is on strike. So DJ Russo, who is very much in the know about cheater stuff, great guy, gave me a message of the week, said, don't know where this rumor's come from. Daniel Casenda is in contract at Cheaters, and no contact has been made. So that rumor is pretty much dead and buried in the water. Sorry.
Huge shame, but we'll always have those two games.
But I still say we fly him over every Boxing Day when we play the Scarlets. And every time, like, make him water boy and he can just fight people.
Yes. Join them all every now and again. Just see if anyone cares.
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
Speaking of the contents of pockets, Rob Dupria has signed a new contract for sale, which might not sound like Ospreys news, but actually when he went to sign it, he reached into his pocket for a pen and found Ruben Morgan-Williams still there.
That's true.
So that's going on.
Haunts his dreams.
He's still thinking about it.
So Wales have released some squads. So we'll talk about the matchday squad later, but we had, was it 6 Ospreys? It was 6 Ospreys. It still is 6 Ospreys.
There's 4 playing at the weekend. Jack Morgan's dropped out. Yeah, James Ratty's taking his place.
Yeah. So we had Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake, which we knew already. That was never in doubt.
Yeah.
Sam Parry.
Owen Watkin.
Owen Watkin was definitely going to be in as well as Jack Morgan. So them 4 were the ones we predicted that were definitely going to be in. So Sam Parry got in, as well as Keelan Giles.
Which unbelievably well deserved for the season he's had.
So deserved.
I mean, he's deserved it for a long time. You know, that infamous him not getting off the bench against Japan was a real kind of turning point in his career, unfortunately. And I think for a long time, it kind of felt like that was his chance gone, and you really felt for him. But he's fought so hard and he's worked so hard and he's been so good consistently in every game. And you think about, yes, it's obvious, you know, games like the Lions or the game against Perpignan where they're quite open, the Ospreys are on top mostly. It's easy for him to attack in those games, or, you know, the Judgment Day game. But it's games like the Edinburgh way, right? Where it was raining, it was pouring, it was miserable. There were no chances, where there was maybe like 3 chances in the entire game, and 2 of them were created by Giles out of nothing. And those were the games, I think, that stacked up to build him towards this chance, you know? It was the work he's done in his defense and his positioning, which has really paid off, but also the way he's meant to remain consistent, the way he's meant to continue creating those chances and performing in games even that don't suit him as a player, and remain as impactful in the game, no matter what's going on or what sort of game he's in.
Yeah, it's just I get quite angry. I didn't rise to it, actually. Is the bit that pissed me off, and I said it on rap at the time, was Gatland's comments around it.
Yes.
Where he essentially said that, we wanted to call up Theo Cabango, but he's not available, so we'll just get the next guy.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it was just a kick in the teeth to basically say to the Ospreys and to Keelan Giles that no, we wanted another Cardiff player. And this is not me disparaging Cabango, by the way. I think Cabango is a fantastic player. I first watched Cabango live in that. I think it was that Glasgow game 2 years ago where he scored 2 and there was just worldies. You know, I rate him a lot as a player. But Keelan Giles has done it consistently now. And this season especially, he's just been so good. And so very well deserved. Same with Sam Parry as well. I think the 4 hookers actually are the right hookers anyway. Elias would have been called up, but I don't think it would have been deserved. If that makes sense, on form. I think he's had for me, a really poor season. Right, like he looked tired. He's one of them players, a bit like Adam Beard, who's looked tired.
Yeah, I think there's a growing contingent of those throughout every nation.
Yeah. So actually, I think it's the 4 hookers that did get called up are the right options. Owen Watkin we always knew anyway because of our limited centre options, but he's also just been, again, consistently good all year. Led the defensive line. He's him and Mark Jones have clearly worked together a lot. And then Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake, and Jack Morgan were always going to be called up.
Yeah.
So as well as we'll come on to the match day. As well as the under-20s, the senior squad, you had the under-20s as well.
Yes.
So Rodri Lewis, Cian Hyatt, and Morgan Morse have been called up. Morgan Morse was probably never in doubt.
Yeah. It was only if the Ospreys wanted to rest him for the summer or something.
Or if maybe he was put on standby or anything. But
considering he didn't play much towards the end of the season.
No, his minutes were managed really well, actually. And the caveat with Morgan Morse is that he's incredibly green.
Yeah.
And the coaches have been consistent in mentioning this.
Yeah.
Because I think the Welsh rugby hype and hyperbole, especially from the media, will say this kid is a sensation. I was guilty of it as well, but it's actually reminding us that he is incredibly green. He probably misses more tackles than he should. He makes a load. Like look at that England game. But then also he gives away probably a few too many penalties as well. You know, we saw that in the Ulster game. He gave away that last penalty that Jake Flannery kicked over. He did it in the Lions. He gave away that first penalty in the Lions game. So he does give away needless penalties. So he is incredibly green.
Yeah.
But it's about developing that. And the coaches have done a really good job of reminding people that, yes, he's a sensational talent, but he's also, 19?
Yeah. That's it.
So no Freddie Chapman, who seems to, whether because he's 20 now, I probably should check that, actually.
Well, no, he'd still be eligible because it's taken from the kind of academic year. So he'll still be eligible. There was a possible shout for Dylan James as well.
I think that's probably a year too far.
Yeah.
For Dylan James, because he's only played 18s rugby, and prop is a very different ball game because he'd be propping against men. Yeah. That's what under 20s is. So no Freddie Chapman, who I really like. I hope he, keeps going. I'd like to see more of him for Swansea RFC.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll come. He's still incredibly young, Freddie Chapman. He's just turned 20. Liam Edwards is the other player from Six Nations that hasn't featured.
Yes, he's been injured all year, I believe.
Has he? Okay.
But he's been in with the main squad.
Okay.
Because he was sat next to me at Gloucester.
Right.
So he was sat with Jack Dewi, Will Griff, and the various other ones. So he's been in with the main squad.
Okay.
But Liam Edwards would be the other one. Again, I think they're very excited about Liam Edwards. He's like 6'7", 120 kilograms or something like that. That's that size you can't teach. And that's what they want. And then Rodri Lewis as well, who's been a mainstay at scrum half, former East Stand warrior at the Liberty. There are rumours of him not being an Osprey next year and instead being a Scarlet.
Oh.
Again, these are rumours, please don't come for me.
Sources.
Yeah, we've all got sources. Tell me your sources. But I do have my sources, and they have told me that he is not an Osprey next year. But for now, he is an Osprey, and we will celebrate him all the same, for he was part of the Ghost Choir, and for that, he is an Osprey for life.
And deaf, indeed.
And deaf, yeah, because he's part of the Ghost Choir. We've also got... So the URC have been like drip feeding awards, right? Throughout the week. And there's been some that are really, I think, deserve, like Serenelli Nahamba won the URC Player of the Year, which I think is a great shout. I think he's been fantastic all year.
He's one of those where, like, he wouldn't be the first name that comes to mind, but the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, that I get that completely.
Yeah. Jack Crowley won the Next Generation Award,
which is 24. Bullshit. Yeah, he's 24. He's been around for like 3 years.
He's won an Urk already.
He won it last season. He has been first choice for Ireland for a year. He went to the World. Like, no, like, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you that.
That award, if he played in the Urk, would go to someone like David Odiasi.
Yeah, Morgan Morse again is a name.
Yeah,
like, or there's plenty of them. Can win it, yeah. I mean, Cam Winnet's been playing for like 4 years now, just because of the state of the
maybe
regions. Yeah, there's a bunch of players who, like, the World Rugby Breakthrough Award is so needlessly pernickety in like the ruling, where you have to have made your debut in like November or later the previous year. So like there are players who win one cap in the summer and then break through the following year, and they're not eligible because they won one cap, against Georgia 18 months or 6 months too early. And I wonder whether there needs to be something. This isn't something I'm particularly angry about. It's just something I'm now having.
No.
But like whether there needs to be something of like, you can only play a certain number of games prior to the season or something, because there have been young players, and I think particularly in Wales, particularly the Alex Manns, the Mackenzie Martins at Cardiff. There's been a bunch of all the regions, not just to focus on Morgan Morse or James Fender or whoever, that have stood up really well, and instead they're being taken up by a player who has been playing regular, URC standard rugby.
Six Nations rugby as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, Crowley made his debut in 2020 for Munster. Yeah. Like, that's 4 years he's been playing, pretty regularly.
It's like
he played in the Rainbow Cup, for crying out loud.
It's like when people say Jamie Osborne's a young player. Jamie Osborne's been playing for about 23 years. I'm pretty sure he made his debut with like John Hayes.
That's the sub academy system. It's so weird. Leinster's like whole system of like graduating from like your school team to the sub academy to the academy to the bloody up to the seniors, up to the super squad, up to the Ireland squad. Like there's a whole system there. It's weird. It makes sense.
Mental, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, so anyway, so the URC awards have been controversial to say the least, and they announced Coach of the Year today. Yeah. And in big Joe Launchbury 2015 vibes, it was given to Graham Rowntree. Now, Graham Rowntree's fantastic coach, done great things in Munster, especially this latter half of the season. They went on like 10 out of 11.
Yeah.
Like, stupidly good winning record. They're like Finding a Way, the Irish version of Finding a Way. But Twitter was a bit controversial. Well, it was up in arms saying he should have gone to Toby Booth. And we're all in agreement, I think, that Toby Booth should have been in the running or should have been high up there.
It's one of these where I think Toby Booth was the coach that deserved it the most.
Yeah.
I also know how these things work, and they always reward a team that at least makes a final or a semi-final.
Yeah.
You look at the World Rugby Coach of the Year, to make that comparison again, right? The most impressive achievement in coaching over the last few years was Pablo Lemoyne getting Chile into the World Cup, taking them from absolutely nothing to a World Cup nation and beating a couple of tier one or not of established World Cup teams along the way. And instead, he wasn't nominated because they looked at Springbok and All Black coaches and Irish coaches and so on, who took teams that were already near the top right to the top. And that's typically what they look at. And it's always been the criteria. It's always been the way it goes because they look at the very top of the game. And I understand that as a mentality of, they are the best coach because of the team that's got the coach the highest possible level. But also you've got to look at it as an achievement of what have they done relative to the resources they were handed. And relative to what he had to work with and what was expected of him, frankly, no one in professional rugby this season has overachieved like Toby Booth has.
Yeah.
I know we're in a biased position, and there's probably a coach in the Pro D dust somewhere that we've missed, or someone Super Rugby Americas, whatever. But
probably the Stade Nicois coach, maybe Grenoble.
Yeah. Oh, mate, Stade Nicois doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah.
A few big signings coming in there.
Just signed Tom Daly.
Yeah, already got Ormachea, Uruguay legend. Yeah, all sorts.
We also didn't have any representation in the Elite 15 or the Team of the Year, which I don't have many. The one I have a problem with is Jamie Ritchie.
Won the most turnovers in the league, though.
He didn't though. Did he? Was it?
Pretty sure
him that got it?
I'm pretty sure
he
was.
did. Yeah, he did get turnover king. So the team was Oxenche. Yeah, fair enough. He's Oxenche. Aka van der Merwe was one of the most underrated rugby players around. Vilko Low, yeah. I think Tom Boter would be on the bench. I don't think there's been any other tight ends I can think of that have done what both of them have done.
Sure, yeah.
Tyke Bernaroo and Nortia and Locke, yeah, fair enough. Jamie Ritchie, Cameron Hanekom, Elric Lowe, yeah. I think Evan Roos probably has a shout to being in there.
Yeah, I like Evan Roos, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't get into my whole thing on him. I think he's a very good player, but he has this, for every two good things he does, he do one, dumb thing. I think
he's the biggest brain farts in the league.
A second to Kemsey Matthias for penalties given away in the season.
Penalties, yeah.
I think he's the only non-prop in the top 10, which is always saying something, always going some.
John Cooney, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Nahamba. Jack Crowley. Jordan Lama, somehow.
I mean, inexplicable. I don't get it. I don't see it.
No.
Whatever, but fine.
Curtly Aronser, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Alex Nankerville, who probably for me was up there for player of the season.
Yeah, I can see that.
Tione Tuapolotu.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Particularly great in the semi-final.
And then Warwick Gallant at 15, who, again.
Always great. Brilliant player.
The bit I want to highlight, though, is not that. It's Neil Tracy put up his votes, right?
Okay.
The often controversial writer, Neil Tracy, right? And his votes at prop were Rhys Carre and Tom Boter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, sorry, PJ Boter for the Ospreys. So apparently we've signed PJ Boter. So yeah. We didn't get. There's no Welsh representation this year at all in the URC awards.
The thing is, though, just on the 15, I don't disagree with that because I think the strength in the Ospreys has been them as a collective rather than individuals.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. But there is scope for putting that Tom Boter in there, I think.
Yeah. We talked about this before when we talked about Wales call-ups, I think, in the autumn, or the Six Nations, rather, about how, because we're in this position where players slot in effortlessly and the team looks cohesive, and if Jack Morgan gets injured, we bring in Tips, then it looks fine. And then if Tips gets injured, we bring in Harry Deves and it looks fine. And then if he gets injured, we bring in Tristan Davis. Broadly, it still looks okay, And a lot of that can dampen someone's chances. And the fact we've used more players than anyone but Leinster this season. And Leinster are underrepresented for a team that was on top for most of the season in that team. And I do think the squad rotation and the fact that we were very much team first team is probably hurting. But then you go, well, the representation there is the coach. And I kind of wish we had maybe a number 2 and 3 for the coaches, so you can give it to Roundtree.
Yeah.
I do think I think Roundtree deserves it. No quibbles with him being the guy who got it in the end. It's just I wish there was a second place that we could have given a silver medal.
I'd like to see what the split the vote was.
Yeah,
because so the vote. If you don't know, the coach of the year is voted by the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see what the split was. How many? Because I think for me it would be between. It's a straight shootout between Roundtree, Booth, and Franco Smith, which I'd probably say.
I think the coach of the Lions, whose name I've even De Rouet.
Yes, yeah, it could be
I
the
think he
Lions
also
as
deserves
well.
a, in terms of, they are like purely monetarily have the lowest budget in the league, and they really stood up as
Yeah,
well.
and they've
Of
used the
course, you've got to
least players
take,
as well.
really, okay,
Yeah,
but you've got to kind of take into account the, obviously, the cost of living and difference in circumstances and so on means that, like, once you adjust for all of that, I think they're the third lowest in the league, but it's still an unbelievable kind of achievement to be
yeah. So I think,
there or
I'll put the
thereabouts.
Lions get fourth, but I think in terms of achievements and expectation, actually,
Sure, yeah.
is Franco Smith, Toby Booth, and Roundtree,
Hmm.
and then Lions coach. But tell you who didn't want it was Sean Everett, the most boring man in the world.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I've started to see Edinburgh fans really turn on him of this
Yeah.
kind of style of play that is
Well,
boring and this man
welcome to
that
my
is
world,
boring.
lads. Get in.
Yeah. It's like he is their Alan Clark.
Oh, he does give off
And
big Al.
things are going okay, but they've got a boring man playing boring rugby and everyone seems to hate it. And
Yeah.
you just worry, like, where are they finding their Toby Booth? Where's he coming from?
It's mental how you can play boring rugby with with like Emiliano Buffelli in your team.
Yeah, Buffelli, Darcy Graham, Duan van der Merwe are starting back three.
Yeah.
How do you manage to make that boring? And yet, you look at that Ospreys team, it was Keelan Giles, George North, and Dan Evans on that kind of form.
Yeah.
And, Clark managed it. It was, I suspect they keep Everett for a bit. And then the same thing that happened with Alan Clark, where everything blew up in his face once they had a run of bad results. And everyone was miserable, but they were winning, so they were getting away with it.
Yeah.
And I worry that Benetton result might lead to a sour atmosphere. And if things go badly during the start of next season, or they have a bad run of results next season, I suspect things might change, because you get the sense the camp aren't that happy in Edinburgh, but they're winning enough games, so there's enough confidence there that's carrying them through. And the moment that changes, I suspect things might be quite bad.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think that's probably the best way of putting it. They did just enough to avoid it being a crisis.
Yeah,
I think what the only thing probably counted against them was how they ended the season,
yeah.
and because how woeful they were.
They won enough games to make the playoffs. It was a bonus
Yeah.
point situation, like the Ospreys a
Oh
few
yeah,
years ago.
the bonus point thing is a problem. But we had that two
Yeah,
seasons
2 seasons
ago
ago.
because we were beating like the likes of Ulster, Munster, all these different teams, but we were beating them like 15-6
Yeah,
in hateful games where I just hated watching the Ospreys but loved us at the same time.
yeah. I couldn't have loved it more. Like having that fighting spirit back after the Alan Clark era, where
Yeah,
you know they rolled over and died if
and
things weren't going their
actually, it's
way.
probably we probably will talk about it actually, but the evolution. So we lost a lot of balance, I think,
Mm,
because that year. So that year we were really attritional in how we
mm,
played. So very forwards orientated. Stephen Myler kicks the goals. We didn't really do much that was
yeah.
innovative. Then probably the next year, last year,
Mm,
we scored more tries, but we weren't clinical. We didn't
yeah.
close out games. And then this year we found the balance.
Yeah. I think
This,
that's it. I think we're kind of moving on to the season review, and I think we should
yeah.
just dive into
So
this.
there's no other news as far as I'm aware. Yeah, there's no news. Like we haven't announced anyone
Yeah.
or anything like that, so
Look,
we can't. There is supposed to be stuff coming.
yeah.
Um,
Booth seemed pretty clear recruitment isn't finished in the kind of post season, I guess, interview he did in the
yes.
Osprey YouTube channel. So I suspect there will be more coming. There will be more that hasn't been, the T's haven't been crossed and the I's haven't been dotted. But we'll see. We'll see.
Um, so yeah. So instead of playing good player,
Mm.
we're going to play good players. So Robbie had the fantastic idea of going through all 53 players that the Ospreys have used this year, and saying, well, no, they're all good players because they play for the Ospreys, right?
Yeah.
But are they good players?
Yeah. And I think before we get into this, just as a kind of general reflection impression on the season, because it's been a weird one. It's been a long one, but it's also gone quite quickly. And I've really greatly enjoyed this season. And I think this squad have really shown who they can be and who they can be going forwards. And I've been, really proud of everything that's gone on this season. And to a man, every single player has stood up. There's no one I look at and go, well, they were disappointing. They
Yes,
didn't
I
do what we
agree.
wanted. There's perhaps a couple of players, Toby Frick or so on, who didn't play as much as I would have liked, but that's an opportunity thing. I don't think there's anyone who, Tom Florence likewise didn't get much opportunity. I don't think there was anyone who let us down. I think it was across the board. Players have played well and really fought for a cause and really bought in.
I agree. So let's start with
Should we do alphabetical order?
go alphabetical order. I'm also just got the fixture list up from this year.
Oh,
to
okay.
go through any games that I remember them standing out.
Okay. Do you want to do games first or we do players first?
Let's do games. I think we should do games. So
yeah,
I'm not counting preseason because it just didn't count in my eyes.
No.
That weird, especially that weird one against Cardiff. That was
yeah.
odd.
Well, there was a live stream that I watched in the fan zone in France, and then it cut out, and it was a whole thing.
You really didn't miss much. Right, so we start the season in Connacht where we lost 34-26. Now, I was on the Isle of Wight this game because I was playing.
I was in Paris.
I was playing rugby on the Isle of Wight.
Oh, wow.
And I checked my phone because, I checked my phone after the game and we were 27-5 down at half time. Yeah. And I said, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up coming back 34-26. We got to the bonus point, I believe. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, try bonus point, miss out on the losing bonus point. It was, I think, in many ways, this game set the tone for the season. In the morning of this game, I was in Paris for the World Cup because it'll be the World Cup semi-finals, I think, and I had gone for a walk before this game and basically talked myself into not believing too much. And not getting too carried away and going, no, you look at the budgets, you look at the restrictions, you look at the squad sizes. This squad, realistically, you're probably going to target the derbies and try and win all the derbies, maybe get out of the group in Europe. But otherwise, you're looking at maybe one other win, which is probably going to be Zebre next week. So you probably want to set realistic expectations, probably work out that any place off the bottom you get is a win in itself, and just accept this is going to be a rough and a long season. And then kickoff comes, and the first kickoff goes straight to Kieran Williams, who drops it cold. And you go, oh, God, it's going to be as bad as we expect. And Connacht score immediately to get the bonus point. I think they get 4 tries up out of nowhere. And then you're kind of thinking, oh, God, this is as horrible as we hope. And then Giles scores that try right before half time. And then they score 3 unanswered tries in the second half. And they almost get back in a position to get the losing bonus point, almost a position to win. And suddenly you felt the atmosphere change an awful lot, and you felt more positivity grow, that then carried into that Zebre game the following week.
What's stark about this game, right, is looking back at our defense now compared to what it is in the Mark Jones.
Yeah.
So Caleb Blade's got a hat-trick in 30 minutes in this game.
Wow, yeah.
We also had a bit of a front row crisis because obviously we didn't have any.
Back when Nicky Smith played for Wales.
Yeah, Nicky Smith, Dewi Lake, Gareth Thomas. So we started with Garen Phillips, Ethan Lewis, Tom Boter. Obviously, we lost Will Griffiths in this game. Didn't see him again. So this is start the Lewis Lloyd hype train. Hugh Sutton came off the bench. Don Morris was So a frustrating but okay start to the year. So then we moved to Ospreys versus Zebra. One of the tries of the season.
Yeah.
Morgan Williams finishing off a fantastic try. Nagy was fantastic this game, despite only playing 47 minutes, which I didn't realise. I think he went off injured. Hugh Sutton also went off injured this game. We didn't see him again for a while. This was Prothero's return. He went off. He got knocked out, actually. In 36 minutes. Don Morris went off injured. Didn't see him again. So there's a theme
Yeah,
developing.
it's growing.
Garen Phillips went off at 32 minutes. Didn't see him for a while. So we did have Nicky back for this. So Nicky came on at 32 minutes. That helped a lot. Owen Williams, Kieran came on early.
Hugh Sutton also picked up an injury in this game as well.
Yeah, so we didn't see him for a while. This was a game I was happy we won and happy when the final whistle went. I just breathed a sigh of relief. We got the bonus point. We got the win. I couldn't care how well we played or how badly we played. We got the win. That was the vibe coming out of the stadium for me.
Yeah.
And I remember being stood outside the club shop, like leeching onto the Wi-Fi so I could watch the Stormers versus Scarlets game, and it instantly cheered me up. So that was October. We moved into November, where you went to the Stoop.
Yes. Yeah, I just got back from France.
Sharks, 19 points to 5.
Really cool occasion, that first game in London.
Yeah.
Really fun thing. I do hope it doesn't look like they're doing it again next season, but I hope it's something that does come back at some point. Great crowd, people really bought into it. You had a lot of South Africans really high off winning the World Cup. They were then brought down to earth by James Fender being brilliant.
Buthelezi scored like
a minute in.
Yeah, and we
all conceded in like the first 2 minutes of all 3 games.
Yeah, and we said, "Oh shit, here we go again."
Yeah.
And then it was a weird game.
It was.
The Max Nagy challenged down with my penis, and then I'm going to run it in. Is it a knock on? Oh, actually, it's not. So I'm just going to dot it down and try. We couldn't get the bonus points. That was frustrating. We didn't get the bonus point.
Yeah. But I also think we'd never beaten a South African team up to this point, or not in the modern URC era.
No.
And coming into this game, that felt like, you'd have taken at the start of the game. If we'd won 6-3, you'd have kind of taken it. And so to win in the style they did, what was it, 19-7?
19-5.
19-5. Was really pleasing because the second half, yes, they didn't kick on and get the bonus point, but they shut shop down and they didn't let the Sharks into the game at all when they had more territory in possession. And I think in many ways, it was a brilliant lesson in learning to close out those games that they then carried on. And also probably the moment the Shark season kind of went to shit.
Champions
Cup aside.
Their thing was, it just wasn't good. Morgan Morse debut, of course.
Yes.
Lewis
James
Jones
Fender's
debut,
first start.
Of course. James Fender first start. Harry Deeves for the first time this season got hit in the face with an elbow by a South African man. This is
Toby Fricker's only game for the Ospreys.
Fricker's only game.
USA international to be.
He's not in the squad.
Is he not?
Make the squad.
Oh,
no,
man.
So have to settle for the Free Jacks. So then we moved into the cursed game, Ospreys versus Glasgow Warriors. I don't want to talk about this game. This makes me sad.
I thought about this game so much because it felt like a big kind of moment in the season. Them being ahead with 5 minutes to go, then somehow conceding 10 points and losing.
Losing Kieran Williams early.
Yeah.
24 minutes. Brought on George North, which was nice, but he probably didn't have the impact we wanted him to.
But I think it also showed that we can compete and potentially beat the big teams. And I think in that way it was important.
So the big thing coming out of this game was Andrea Piardi's refereeing performance, right? And everyone knows Piardi's my mortal enemy, and Robbie doesn't do ref chat, so I will talk about this. He was bad. He bottled it. He gave a yellow card to Duncan Weir, which is retroactively upgraded to a red card after the game, where he was given a ban. Obviously, Duncan Weir kicks him to victory. He then gives the worst yellow card I think I've ever seen to Justin Tipperick in the 77th minute, which dashes all hope. That's our game gone. And it was, that I can't remember being more frustrated coming out of the game. But you were right. It showed that we can compete.
And I think like the big theme of the season for me was last season we showed this team is capable of putting in performances that can compete with anyone, right? Them going away to Wolverhampton and winning, them going away to Montpellier and winning, the game against Saracens, even though they lost it, and the game against Leinster, even though they lost it. showed that they went to 4 of the best teams in Europe, the best team in Ireland, best team in France, the
Mm.
best team in England, and they competed with them all. And they beat more of them than they didn't. They won more of those games than they didn't. And that showed what they can do. However, they were completely inconsistent and they were losing so many games they should have won, and they weren't keeping that up week to week. And slowly we saw at the start of this season them learn to keep those performances up. And even in games like Glasgow, where they did fall off, there was a standard performance. And I think actually this next game against the Dragons,
Well,
which was
the game doesn't exist. I don't know what you're on about. This
an
game
even more cursed game, but it kind of felt like if you look over this season, there are only really 2 blips where there was no real like performance and no standing up, And I think that Dragons game was a weird one because they were expecting something to happen and they didn't. And it was a game I think they learned from an awful lot in that they didn't let that happen again, and they got blown out the water by Montpellier a few weeks down the road. But we sent through necessity because of been illness and a few injuries right before kick-off, an incredibly inexperienced team up, and they didn't keep up. This Dragons game I think is like a one-off that hasn't been repeated since, which is really
No,
pleasing.
it was very much an outlier. So the only real notable things were there was a lovely try for Morgan Williams. No, Luke Moore. No, Matt Brother.
Proper,
Matt
yeah.
Brother who scored it, yeah. And Dan Casende debut. So yeah, that game happened. The best way to describe it is that game happened. Then we moved into a much better game, and I loved this game. I was at this game, was the Ospreys versus Scarlets, 31-9. So Scarlets were dog shit, right? And Scarlets fans will admit this, they were awful. It is the least competitive I've seen in Scarlets. So it's really hard to gauge how good we were because it was so paid by numbers. That's the best way to describe it. Kieran Williams scoring 2, one beautiful angle, and then one where he just sits in the back of a maul. Who else stood out that game? Dan Casende fighting Scarlets players.
And the 4th try. Oh, Jack Morgan was unbelievable as well.
Jack Morgan was very good that game, yeah.
Phenomenal. First start back in.
Dan Edwards debut.
The moment. Dan Edwards on for his debut has been on the pitch about 3 or 4 minutes when he
This is the thing. I thought this as well. I thought he'd come on in like the 70th minute. He came on in the 58th minute.
Of course he did. Yeah, because like his first touch was he had to like put in a quite difficult clearance kick, and
he came on with Gareth Thomas and Rhys Henry and Sam Parry. Like they all came on together.
Yeah,
I thought he came on
because Walsh picked
around the time
knock,
of like Luke Scully did.
Yeah,
Luke Scully came on at 75 and Rivan Kriya came on at 68. So yeah, I thought there's a bit of a Mandela effect.
No, you're right. No, yeah, because there was a long period of managing where the Scots had all territory, and he managed that really nicely to set the start.
The other thing that sticks out, because I watched this game back quite recently, is how awful Shanklin was on commentary. He just, whenever Shanklin commentates in the Ospreys, right, he does this thing where he'll hype a player up that's not on the Ospreys, and that player will do something incredibly stupid, or his opposite number who's on the Ospreys will do something great. He did it in the Dragons game where Ross Moriarty got that yellow card for hitting Jack Walsh late. At that particular scrum, they said, yeah, Moriarty's the one you want to be taken to France. Direct ball carrier, got experience, and then goes and twats Jack Walsh.
So I should have clarified. When I said France, I didn't mean the Pro Day duh.
Yeah, didn't mean La Prison. But yeah, so yeah, that was a great. That Edwards try is fantastic.
Amazing.
Just love him, and I love the photo. And we commented on this time. Actually, was the first person there was Jack Morgan.
Yes,
like the Wales captain. So next game then was international centre Malachi Fekitoa versus centre slayer Luke Scully. So this was the start of the double feature against Benetton, right? So we sent the very inexperienced squad out to Benetton, and they decided to put their first out because they're nerds. So I think it's worth going through our squad this day because I think it's quite funny. So Gareth Thomas, yeah, fair enough. Marnus van der Merwe, one game wonder. Reece Henry, Reece Davis, James Fender, Tristan Davis, who got a fucking stormer.
Oh yeah.
Harry Deeves, Morgan Morris, Luke Davis, Dan Edwards, who got twatted and had to come off in the 19th minute.
Yeah.
Luke Morgan, Kieran Williams, Luke Scully, Yeston Hopkins, and Max Nagy. This is where he suffered his injury. He's got a beautiful try. So Ethan Lewis, Karen Phillips, Ben Warren, Lewis Jones, Morgan Morse, Revan Krier, Owen Williams, and Harry Houston. See, if I'd have looked at that bench in the Alan Clark era, I would have had an aneurysm. But because it's in the Boothie era, I'm like, yeah, I trust them completely.
Yeah. They're buying to what they're trying to do.
Yeah. But that was that was like genuinely oh my God, what do I do? We could have won that game.
Yeah. It was a game I went into with very low expectations. And yet they kind of showed there was something there.
They had a back three of Adogwu, Smith, and Padovani, for fuck's sake.
Again, as a model for the season of games where we're outmatched financially, resources-wise, and on paper quality-wise, and yet never sitting down, staying in the game the whole time.
Yeah. So then we move into Challenge Cup. We go on to Benetton at home. Dewi Lake scores 4 in 64 minutes.
Yes, he does. Built different.
Built different. He is one of the Built Different brothers. This was an interesting game. Anissa Ratavu was fucking excellent in this game, as he normally is. But yeah, Sam Hildago Klein played in this game. Just, do you remember him?
Yeah, I mean, European Cup winning turnover man, Sam Hildago Klein.
Forever a pub quiz answer.
Yeah.
Then the Montpellier game happened.
Yeah.
Best part of that game was the Reece Henry break, where he gassed. Who did he gas? Was it Von Son?
Oh, was it that? No.
Who was the winner?
Who was it?
George Bridge, I think.
George Bridge? It was George Bridge, yes.
Yeah, Reece Henry gasses George Bridge.
Yes.
And
it's
not even like, George Bridge was jogging. No, he fully gassed him. He just goes around him.
Also, there's an injury pre-match, and it meant Harry Houston started.
Yes.
And because both him and Provorou are very blonde and on either wing, Ross Harry's on commentary, spent the first half going, Provorou is very busy, thinking both of them were Matt Provorou, which was great fun. I had to drop him a message being like, it's Harry Houston, he's in. And half time I was like, oh God, thank you.
3 yellow cards that game, obviously all cynical. Nothing for Montpellier. I won't come back. Also, that blinding sunlight in Montpellier. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
You couldn't see a fucking thing. And they were looking at the the TMO screen, the big screen in the stadium, and they just couldn't see a thing.
Yeah. The worrying thing as well is, like, we didn't mention it, the Challenge Cup draw has been done in 2 weeks. And
of course. Yeah,
we are going as top seeds, which is great fun and could be really interesting in terms of they have skewered the European Cup so much to favour the top seeds because they want the likes of Leinster and Toulouse and someone going deep. The whole thing, look, it's made me angry in the past. Now we're benefiting from it. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe.
We could face the Scarlets, you know that. That's a feasible
You could face the Scarlets.
No, genuinely, we could, because there's 4 Welsh teams. 2 of them have to go in the same pool.
Oh, of course, yeah. Huh. But there's a chance we draw a group of, we play Newcastle, Zebre, and
Montpellier, actually.
Yeah, Van or someone, whoever's just come back up. But that's it. Like, there's a chance we draw Montpellier again for a 3rd season in a row.
The Wales, Uruguay, Australia, Fiji, Gambit.
Yeah. And like, I don't want Montpellier again.
No, I don't want Montpellier.
I don't want Montpellier again. And not only because I worry they're just going to yo-yo between being good and bad every season.
No, because it means I have to see Stuart Hogg's face.
Oh God, you're right. And also, this like bloody Suicide Squad they've assembled of cunts.
Yeah, they've got the Cunt Avengers,
like,
isn't they?
Yeah, like they're assembling the most unlikable squad in rugby history. They're making like the vintage London Irish team look like angels.
Sponsored by the blood capsules from Harlequins.
Yeah, exactly. That joke shop is going to be popping around offering them tips. Like, I can't believe it. All I hope, I want an easy draw, but more than that, I just don't want Montpellier.
I don't want Makavuda Pola and Stuart Hogg come to Swansea next year. So moving on, we went to Boxing Day then, and we travelled to the Scarlets, this woke rugby where we have to go to Parker Scarlets on Boxing Day. Bloody woke has ruined rugby.
Honestly.
Yeah,
James Fender, unbelievable.
James Fender was unreal. So I remember I was watching this in London. He was so good. This, of course, was 0-0 up until 46 minutes.
Yes.
Because
not a great game of rugby.
Awful game of rugby.
I watched this with my mum, and she was struggling to stay awake, but had this like, who's this Fender? He's playing well, which I think is always a vital moment, I find, when your mum wakes up to a player being good, you know? Like, I find that a big moment in rugby of like, oh, this player's made it now. My mum's paying attention to them.
See, my granddad did that a few years ago. We went to the Knoll to watch a pre-season game against Hartbury. He said, that Hartbury lad who's wearing 6 and the scrum cap, he's quite good. Big Fijian guy. I said, what? Akabusi and Gera?
Yes.
I said, you know what? I think he'll go far.
He'll do all right for himself.
Do me a favour. Type in 2007 Fiji World Cup. There you go. So up and coming Akabusi and Gera.
Incredible.
That was the Jack Walsh try puts a smile on my face because
every time
it's Johnny Williams throwing the pass, and B, I say it's a pass. He sort of flings it.
Yeah.
So then we moved to the Brewery Field game.
Iconic.
Where Morgan Moore scores that worldie, who does have a very good game actually, like, take nothing away from him. This was a really finding a way game because we lost Eves early on, and then we lost Tristan Davis as well. We ended up with Derry Lake at 8.
And a fish at 9. As someone watching on BBC, and an eel playing 10.
Yeah, with a rainbow trout at 14.
Yeah.
I was at this game. Fucking awful conditions.
I'm glad you were, because it's the only one I was keeping up with what was going on.
Yeah, I was having to text the boys like, "Oh my god, Dan Edwards just kicks a lovely ball to Keelan Giles. He's gone over." So
I was just pacing around my partner's flat on Boxing Day, being just checking everywhere for updates.
The worst thing was we were playing very bad. Ellis Bevan, I think it was Ellis Bevan who started. Was it Ellis Bevan or Thomas Williams? It was Thomas Williams and Ellis Bevan. They were kicking incredibly well, like stupidly well. It was just Thomas actually, especially in that first half. This tore us to shreds. Like Jack Walsh did nothing wrong except not be Mason Grady. Like when Mason Grady goes over for that try, and I feel like that celebration by Mason Grady where he puts the finger up was their downfall. Like, come on. So this was the first appearance of penalty try. He made an appearance.
Yes. Add him to the list. 54 players.
It was just a very finding a way performance because we just managed that second half so well. This was very much coming of age for Dan Edwards as well. Owen Williams wasn't fit. He played 40 minutes, but I saw in the warm-up he was not fit. Like you had Sam Parry did a full game. Gareth Thomas and Tom Boated did 76 minutes in them conditions. It was mental.
As you say, everyone came out of this game talking quite rightly about Morgan Morse for that try and his performance all round. But I do think Dan Edwards was the thing that I almost focus on because I think he managed what I could see of that, his time on the pitch so well and oversaw that kind of come back into the game and assist the try at the end. And it was like a big step forward for him as a senior fly half, as much as a step forward for Morse as a professional rugby player.
So then we move into the USA Perpignan game where they were cowards.
Council State workers.
Against some French postmen. In the most French scrum half performance I've ever seen.
Mate, there's scrum half. There's scrum half. There's scrum half, who was the biggest prick in the world. And that was all he brought to the game. He
just
could
constantly
barely
would go
spin the
offside and then
ball.
slaps the ball out of his
Yeah.
hand.
But he just like waited offside, slapping people and like slapping bums and just being in everyone's ear. And I loved it. I loved watching that guy. He was the
So
biggest prick I've ever seen.
I'm pretty
Couldn't play
sure
to come
this
out to save his
was
life, but should live in the pro day duh.
so this was Cam Jones' debut. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Not that one.
Not that one. The other one.
No, the scrum half. Will Hickey return, where he brought his Irish mates over. One of them inexplicably looks like Sam Davis.
Yes.
Derry Lake at 7. That lasted 5 minutes. We lost Easton Lewis. No, we lost Garen Phillips. And Easton Lewis had to come on, and we did 6 minutes when we tested scrums.
Of course, yeah.
Yeston Hopkins had a great game. Keelan Giles scores that lovely try. I know it was against some French, like, in exam invigilators, but
justifying the weird AI drawing of him Purple posted that day.
Oh yeah,
of like the Mission Impossible Keelan Giles style.
That was great. This is like them and Benetton doing their weird AI drawing. The only AI thing I really support.
Yeah, that's it. If it doesn't feature Keelan Giles, why is your AI art existing?
James Fender, this was his last appearance of the season.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, good all round there.
Was like a proper like season ticket game, you know, was like exclusively for people that really care about the Ospreys. Yes, Hopkins, brilliant, but like, if you're not an Ospreys fan, why were you ever watching this game?
It was also a must-win because of what the game was up next.
Yeah.
So we had to win it to basically be in the run-in for a quarterfinal, not just a home. It was a quarterfinal. So we then travelled to the Lions with, quite frankly, 4 players and a dream. So I remember the build-up to this game.
Yeah.
The week leading up to it, I was doing some school retreats and trips all week. So I was off-site. And the place I was in was an old church building. I had great Wi-Fi in one half of the building and terrible in the other. So like every break, I'd be like running to the good half to see if like who had travelled or like had anyone like, you know, torn their hamstring getting their duty free or something. So like we went out, and this was no mug Lions team. This is a good Lions team as well. Everyone says we beat the Lions 5th, but you've got Jean-Pierre Smith, PJ Bota,
Edel van der Merwe,
Nat Blackanye, JC Pretorius, Chatuka, Frankie Horn, Snellen Hamber, Edel van der Merwe, Marius Lowe, who was a prick that game, Henko van Veek, Richard Creel, Quan Horn, Ruan Dreyer on the bench. So we went out there with a scratch. I know we took that Adam Beardo, we took George North, who got injured this game.
But they had to play because they were the only fit players.
Yeah, we had no one else. Hopkins played, like Moore started at 8, you know. And then we went and fucking won it.
It was unbelievable. Like that last 10 minutes is 10 of the best Ospreys minutes ever. 10 of my favourite Ospreys minutes we've ever had. I think
that to me was Owen Watkins' best game.
Yeah, I thought he was unbelievable.
So he led the charge. Obviously, he got the charge down for that first try. He then he plays that ball to Cam Jones.
Yeah.
Who makes the break. You know, I thought he was great all game.
Disrupts that ruck before the Morgan Morse intercept.
Yeah, he's the
slow
one
that ball down.
For the Morgan Morse intercept.
And like, I just think as a moment, you know, you kind of felt like Walford Road was going to take some beating as my favorite moment of the Booth era. And it still is, don't get me wrong. But this is a very, very strong contender. This is that last 10 minutes where we were dead in a game we literally thought we had no hope in whatsoever. You know, I remember having the conversation on here beforehand. I'm like, we will lose this game. And we kind of just accepted
we said it in the chat as well.
I
think we were saying at the time, like, we were like, it's been good. Like, because it was very much a case of we score, they score. And they scored some very cheap tries. Like, they scored that quick tap, that little dink over the top.
Yeah.
And it just looked like, and then, so what was the lead up? I'd have to look at the score breakdown.
I remember yeah, I remember having the conversation with Katie before the game of just like the day beforehand of like they are going to lose tomorrow, but that's fine because they'll qualify anyway. Because looks like it's going to go okay, and then we'll work it out from there. And then instead, yeah, we got to that situation where it was what was the score?
38-24 or
Yeah,
38, something like that. It was something like
um,
28, maybe. I'm just looking at the breakdown of the game now. So they get a yellow card early on, then they kick a penalty.
oh no, so it was 28-17, and they went over for a try that then got disallowed,
Yes.
and that Harry Deves, unbelievable, couple of unbelievable efforts to save tries. That tries chalked off. The Ospreys go up the other end, and out of nowhere, have that pop off the ground, and Keith goes through from Deves
Yeah.
himself. Keith
It's
goes
because
through,
Steves makes the break, doesn't he? And then offloads to Keith.
yeah, who then puts Keelan over for the try.
I'm just about to watch it now. So Dan Edwards kicks the penalty
Yeah,
in front. Yeah, they score to make it 28. They're a man down. So then Jack Walsh was on this point. I remember us saying this was Jack Walsh was all like coming of age game
I
because
think
he
this is his best
changed that
performance the last
game
10
coming
minutes.
on.
Yeah,
He was
absolutely brilliant.
unreal. We played wider. We played
Yeah,
flat to the line. Yeah, so Deves picks the ball up, makes a nice half break, gets the offload to Keith, good feet, and then out of nowhere, Keelan Giles comes in, shows good strength actually, and scores.
Mm.
And then Cam Jones shows a good, clean pair of heels, gets the ball off to Watkin, who sort of is tackled, gets the offload to the other Cam Jones, and then Morgan Morse goes and like gallops.
Amongst the louds I've ever celebrated the try, that Cam Jones try, coming out absolutely nowhere, straight from the kickoff. Jack Walsh makes that kind of half break up the touchline, and suddenly there's such momentum as they walk in, reads it really well, puts one of the Cam Jones into space, not that one, who then eventually is the other Cam Jones taking it and going over. And then, right as you think this is peak, this can't get any better, it's like, let's just hold on for the last 3 minutes. Morgan Morse pops up and makes that read and that intercept and scores that try, does that dive, and it is
The worst
proper
dive in
Fantasyland stuff.
existence.
Yeah, but like as a fight back as an impossible dream, I remember saying on this podcast, there's like a handful of games this season I think are unwinnable. Kind of being Leinster away, Stormers and Lions away, and Bulls away. We went and won more of them than we didn't,
Well,
and that was insane.
we'd won against Cheetahs and Kings in South Africa before. We'd never beaten
Yeah,
an Urk team.
yeah,
And so we'd already beaten Sharks. And it was weird because normally we sort of played the two SA home games quite close together, but they were so far apart this year. So yeah, it was great. So all of a sudden we're 100% against these opposition.
yeah.
So then we move into and this will be an award later, the didn't want it game. So we move into the Ospreys Ulster. So obviously Dan Edwards' drop goal is the main talking point of this game, but you also got like just the sheer tenacity to stay in a game where you probably Ratty had a really harsh yellow card. It was like the Gareth Davis one against Ulster actually, but way less obvious, I think. Morgan Morse had a stupid yellow card where he slaps the ball down. So we score that try. Obviously, we have that breakaway try. Kieran goes over. That keeps us in the game, and then step up Dan Edwards.
Yeah.
That's not my favourite part of that day, though. My favourite part of that day was the post-match press conference where he just brings in Lewis Lloyd like a proud son,
Yes.
and it just parades him. We can't say much more. We've said so much about that game.
Yeah.
Like a coach got sacked over this game.
It's funny because like that shines on my memory better than anything that happened in the Six Nations. It was a mid-Six Nations Urk game. And yet, again, when you listen to the Scrum 5 pod, that was the game they came back to most. That was kind of, in many ways, the highlight of the URC season. It was the only time a Welsh team beat an Irish team all season in the URC, which is insane and a demonstration of where we're at, but also huge. I just think it was a really wonderful kind of Ospreys day. And also because it was on the Sunday, it was the only game on. There was no Premiership games that day. There was no other Urk games that day. And it meant that kind of the eyes of the rugby world were all on Dan Edwards slotting that drop goal. And it became the story, and we became the story, and he became the story. And it was just kind of a magical moment of a lot of things coming together for the Ospreys and then going against Ulster, which obviously, as you say, then Claire Thomas gives that interview and
Yeah,
Big Dan is gone.
that misogynist twat.
Yeah, get out of here. I said when I interviewed him for the Pro 14 press day a few years ago, he said he listens to Joe Rogan as riding every morning. So was it any surprise that he was going to treat every woman he meets like he treated Claire Thomas there? But hey.
Yeah. So then we move into March. So March started off with the Edinburgh game. Heartbreak.
Yeah. Weird game, another one that stayed in my head an awful lot.
Yeah. So the 2 games in March, obviously not the third one, sorry. There's 2 out of 3 games in March, the ones we thought were going to define our season.
Yeah.
So there's 2 standout moments from them games. Obviously the line out in Edinburgh and the hamstring in Munster. So
mate.
If we lump them together and say, do you know what? I thought our season was over there.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised when it wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think both them games showed, again, that we can compete with these top 8, top 6 teams. Physically, physically we brought us to Munster. We were probably worse in the Edinburgh game. We were 2 stupid decisions worse off in the Munster game. That was Owen Williams trying to force it wide.
Yeah.
When he should have just kept it tight.
And then Keith doing the same.
Yeah.
But I also think there was like that first 20 minutes against Munster, there was just like an unbelievable cosmic level of bad luck going against us.
Yeah, that was all our bad luck for the season.
Yeah. Like we kind of traded in getting to that game in Thomond Park against Munster again for 20 minutes of awful luck against them.
Yeah.
And in many ways, you'd almost take it, for the rest of the season. But yeah, having been there, having been around that day, having been in the dressing room directly beforehand, it wasn't the feeling of kind of, this is our moment, this is when we step up, like it felt around at Ulster. It was a moment of, we're a team that deserves to be here now, and we're going to have a game against another big team. And I felt like that was a significant shift. And we didn't quite live up to that for a lot of the game. But also we showed enough moments where we did. And ultimately, we created more chances. And if not for Cuthbert's heel going, we would have taken as many. And it would have come down to...
So, yeah, we would have got 2 points out of that game.
Yeah.
And what was the final... What was the
finished...
final Irk table?
Oh, all I know is we finished 8th.
You look at the final Irk table.
In the end, it wouldn't have mattered as much as we felt it might going into that final weekend.
So it wouldn't have worked in our favour actually, because we would have gone to Bulls anyway. Because if we'd have finished on 52, maybe got some other points elsewhere, yeah, so it wouldn't have mattered because we got in. We were 4 points behind Benetton. But it would have put us 2 points ahead of the Lions and 3 against Edinburgh.
It would have meant we could afford to miss the bonus point against Cardiff.
Yeah. But actually, if we'd have gone in 7th, we would have been worse off because we'd have gone to Pretoria.
Yeah. Though, look, if we picked up those points and we beaten Edinburgh in that final play of the game, suddenly we're in 6th,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, the theme is knowing what we know. Like, so I say this to my students all the time, right? Hindsight is the most exact science in the world.
Yeah.
There is no science that is more true because we know what happens. So we know that we have picked up the losing bonus points at Connacht. If we'd have done the same at Munster, that's 3 points there. Yeah. If we'd have beaten Edinburgh, so just that's 4 points, that's 7 points.
Held on against Glasgow.
Even if I'm not going to count the Glasgow, but 57 points takes us above Ulster. That's 6th.
Well, look, Duncan Weir misses that conversion at the end.
Duncan Weir misses a conversion. So
that's 58 points. That puts us 1 behind the Stormers. So if we deny them the losing bonus point in that game,
Yeah. So yeah, there's. I reckon we're not as bad as Cardiff at leaving points out there, but there's probably about 6 or 7 points in that.
Yeah.
In that squad there.
And I think you look at how much better we got at picking up those opportunities between last year and now.
Yeah.
bodes well for next season in terms of them just maturing and taking more of those chances.
Mm. So then we go from that to the Lions game again, which was significant in the fact that obviously we were still 100% against South African opposition, but it also backed up what we did in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
So there's not really much to say about the game. We played well. It was a bit squeaky bum time towards the end, and we probably sealed it with a try.
Yeah, really pleasing just as a performance more than anything.
Yeah. So yeah, it just backed up what, as Ospreys fans, we knew, but it was also put to the league to say, we're not mugs. Let's not,
Yeah.
right. So
Brought us to the
then we
giddying
went,
heights of 17% likelihood to make the
yeah.
playoffs, which at the time was like, oh, how dare they write us off? Little knowing we get to 2% and then make it from there.
Then we go to the Brewery Field again
Yes.
to play Sale Sharks in another edition of They Didn't Want It. Because they didn't. They sent their seconds down. And we can only play, right, again, I say this to everyone, we can only play what's in front of us, right? So if they send their twos, that's on them.
Yeah.
This is the game where Mathieu Reynal had a strop because he had to go to Bridgend because he'd announced is it like a week before or 2 weeks before he's retiring, and then
Yeah,
all
I
of a
think it was,
sudden he
yeah.
gets sent to Bridgend, like the poor fucker. Like, how dare you retire? We're sending you to like East Wales. This is going to be my mini award ceremony later, but the Chris Moore cameo,
Yes.
where he wins a line out. It has a good carry actually, and then that sets up so we can then kick the ball off. God, this game was fun.
It was great.
It was incredibly
stressful.
frustrating, yeah.
Yeah. And like obviously I was, on the terrace with friend of the pod, Josh Gardner. And it was great fun as a day out, as an occasion.
Yeah.
Wandering around the ground. It's like ideally sized for bumping into people having a chat, ran into basically every Ospreys related person I've ever met, including, friend of the pod, Lance Bradley. As an occasion, phenomenal. As a day, amazing. But most importantly, we broke the curse. And look, we went into the season having not qualified for the playoffs in 8 years and having not ever won a knockout game in Europe. And both those things have now changed. And maybe there isn't silverware other than the most important piece of silverware, the World Shield. But those two things are enough to build off, and to go, we did something, we changed something, and now we go from here.
It was just like there was a great try. Morgan Morris had a stormer. Rue Moore Williams, that beautiful interception.
Deavesy.
Deavesy, right. Yeah, I'm going to come on to it again because this also features my mini awards ceremony. But that interview at the end was fucking excellent.
Can't tell the time. Loves playing on grass.
Yeah, Deaves went off for 63 minutes as well.
I know.
This is what people forget, is he went off for 63.
Well, I remember thinking when he went off, like, that's a shame because he should be man of the match. And he probably won't be now he's gone off early.
And of course, the big thing...
God bless Sean Lillicrap, not forgetting.
The big thing in this game as well was Lewis Lloyd.
Yeah.
So Sam Parry was named starting, but we all knew he wasn't going to play.
He didn't look fit. He didn't seem fit.
No. And then, so Lewis Lloyd comes in, and there was obviously concerns after the Edinburgh game around his line-out throw-in, but he was fucking excellent. And his dad follows on Twitter. Shout out Lee Lloyd. I am collecting players' parents like Infinity Stones, by the way.
We should do a special someday.
Yeah,
player parents.
I'm pretty sure James Ratty. I think it's one of his family, and also Ellis Bevan's dad. He's from Swansea. But yeah, this was game so. Obviously, for Sale, you had Apoku Fajor, who sort of had a bit of a tune-in. You have players who have really good ceilings, like Rafi Quirk didn't do much. I know he was coming back from injury. Marcy White, who I really like for the under-20s for England, he was pretty anonymous. I mean, you start a back three of Toulouse Veanu, Tamil Flaherty, and Aaron Reed. You're asking for trouble. He had a fucking torrid time, Toulouse Veanu. But yeah, we won it. That was the main thing. So then we went to Gloucester. So obviously we were there. Gutting, obviously, because we didn't play as well as we should have.
Yeah.
But that's it. That we didn't get the rub of the green. Sometimes you don't. You know, we came out that game, so we played the
And
rugby there.
it was a weird game where we, as Booth put it after, we didn't really fire a shot, and
Yeah,
yet we were so in the game.
yeah,
And it's a sign of being a good team is, not playing well and winning, and actually going into the biggest game of your season and not playing well, having come off kind of the emotional high of the previous week, but still remaining in a game against a team who's maniacally up for it and has an incredible home record, especially in this competition, says something. And I do feel like I've said this kind of off air a few times, but like the challenge for this squad next season is knockout rugby, right? And it's learning to win in knockout rugby because we've started to get consistent enough in league games and in pool games. And it's just learning to win knockout games. And hopefully Dan Edwards gets more chance to do that because we haven't seen him get that chance
yeah.
yet. But these are the games they need to learn from. And again, the way Booth talked about it post Munster was they very much had. And the performance they were putting in Munster came because of how Gloucester had gone, how frustrating Gloucester was. And it's one of those games that I've sort of got over how much it seemed to hurt at the time because it feels like a stepping stone towards somewhere we could go in the future.
I was not. I think I was sad for a while because
Mm,
obviously we were there,
yeah.
and so we didn't see any of the post match stuff at all.
Mm.
And like we were drinking afterwards, and
Mike
was
Teague's bar.
yeah in Mike Teague's bar with the Gloucester players. But the overriding thing from um, the Gloucester players that we spoke to was that respect for the Ospreys,
Yeah.
because that they said that was what, and we were with not to drop Jamal in it, but we were with Jamal for a while,
Mm.
and he said that was bloody hard.
Yeah.
Um, and he said that that was one of the toughest games they've been in,
Mm.
which shows where we were. And actually, I don't think you wouldn't have got that vibe from the TV. I think
Yeah.
you wouldn't have got the vibe that I don't. There's only 9,000 in the stadium, but we were out singing them.
Yeah.
We were. Every Gloucester fan came up to me afterwards. This is not me advertising Anglo Welsh League, right? That's not a decision I have to make. It's also not a conversation I want to have right now.
Sure.
But you had every Gloucester fan come up to us afterwards saying that was bloody brilliant. That was a game. That was, you have this perception of Welsh sides because they don't play in your league, that you're going to cakewalk them, because you see that they get smashed every week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the most important learning we've had. I think, because we lost, and we probably took that loss to heart. And the other significant loss that we'll talk about in a minute, Booth said that the feeling was different after it.
Yeah.
So we went then. Then we go to Stormers.
But you do get a real sense that you compare how they react going into that Stormers game to how they reacted to the Saracens game the season before.
Yes.
Right. Where that crushed the rest of the season. And then Edinburgh and then Cardiff, last two games of the season afterwards, were terrible. And they just didn't stand up. They got crushed by teams that they were competing with or beating early in the season or the previous season. And it was hugely disappointing. And then instead, they go into the next game against the Stormers, and they could not have approached it more differently.
Well, I think I remember thinking it. I don't think I said it, but I thought it was either going to be the best game that they could go into or the worst game. Because it's either a game that you can go. I didn't think we'd win. I never thought for once, for a minute, we'd win. I said, what if? I never thought we would. But if we'd have come out of that if we had come out with lost 21-27, but we'd have played well, I would have been like, you know what? Yeah, that's a good reaction. I'll take that. But actually, they went out and said, no, fuck you, Stormers. Like, I don't care you won the Irk 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We've not lost, or we haven't lost you in a while. And we were just immense.
I mean, the Stormers had only lost to three teams in the Irk era. At home ever.
Yeah.
And to then head into that game believing you can win when no one else does was something. But there was a moment about 3 or 4 moments into the game where the Stormers just had a defensive set in their own half. And the intensity the Ospreys were bringing in defence. You know, Deves in particular, I thought was
Deves, yeah,
amazing.
was my.
I thought was the best player on the pitch for me. And then Tips was also exceptional. Morgan Morris got man of the match as is standard, and you're not to do down his performance. But yeah, I thought like that was a whole back row were brilliant. But there was a moment, yeah, of like the intensity they're bringing in defense, which thought, oh, we're going to win this. Like the score was 0-0, nothing had happened. But there's just a moment of like their intensity in defense is so far above what the Storms were bringing.
Yeah.
And they went into it with this like need and want and desire and accuracy that really showed. Like, I think as a performance, it was maybe the best of the Booth era. I think it's up there with Walford Road is the other one that really stands out.
Yeah, I think I think Lauren Jenkins made the argument on that Scrum 5 pod. It's one of the best wins in regional rugby.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that. I'd maybe go that far.
I think it's if you look at the Booth era in terms of performance we put in,
yes,
I think it is up there. I think it's top 3 in terms
It's
of
a
like the
game-
sheer
it's a
strength of the
game.
performance across the board.
it's a game that's going to age incredibly well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the squad now, actually. So you had Nicky Smith took Franz Malherbe to the cleaners. He held his own very well. We started Sekete and Hugh Sutton and brought Adam Beard on, who was fucking immense when he came on.
Oh yeah, he was. Typically also didn't play as well, which I mentioned. No,
Yeah,
so yeah,
Steve,
forget that.
Ratty was brilliant.
Ratty was superb.
That was
Hugh
like,
Sutton, like big coming of age game for him as
Hugh
well.
Sutton's coming of age game, like what Ospreys, well, me especially knew. Jack Walsh was brilliant.
Yes.
South
African commentators all over him all day.
Yeah, they loved him. They were obsessed with him.
And Dan Edwards as well. Also,
yeah,
he only played sort of 20
he
minutes, but he was superb. His work on the opening try is unbelievable. As a minute of like managing a game and managing a defense, anticipating a defense, brilliant for the opening Luke Morgan try.
So, in terms of the Bulls game, I don't have much to say about the Bulls game, right? Because it was a game in which we looked tired.
Yeah.
It was a long block. That was the 5th game in March.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th game.
And I feel a bit like the next game against Leinster.
Yeah.
We were in it for a long time up to half time. And the moment we weren't in it, we fell off because we were tired, you know? Yeah. And like a lot of this season, the players have moments of being physically tired, but when they're emotionally up for it, and when Booth's got them emotionally right, and Tipperick's got them emotionally right, and so on, suddenly things click and suddenly it works and they're okay. But the moment that goes, the moment that dips, the squad size, the fatigue that's setting in is going to lead to the odd result like this. And that's going to have to be the case while the budgets are as low as they are. Because we
Sorry,
can't
I do want to just interrupt you a second. Craig Doyle has just been announced for MasterChef.
As in Craig Doyle, is he hosting or is he just on it?
No, on it.
Wow. First the Windows, now this. How is he going to fit Paddy Jackson? Should Paddy Jackson play for Ireland into MasterChef?
That's done me in. Right, so the Leinster game is very much like copy and paste from the Bulls.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Look, we put up a fight for a half, and I think there's something to be proud of there. But ultimately, like the restrictions on this squad are always going to lead to a few games like this in the season. And we showed what we were about, and that was a really pleasing thing. You know, was we got back to 14 all, and there was a kind of fight back in spirit, and they showed that we're a team who are worth taking seriously, even if when it fell off hard.
So then we go into Dragons game. Not the best performance-wise, but a win nevertheless. Yeah. Which kept our hopes alive.
Yeah. It kind of felt like the banker, as all the things were saying 2% was like.
Yeah.
But that Dragons game is always an underwhelming match, which we somehow come up with. We get the bonus in late on.
It's never a classic. It's always we will score 4 tries.
Yeah, it's never a blowout. We always get exactly 4
tries. The Dragons
tries.
were exceptionally poor. And then you go into Judgment Day, and I always forget the score for this game, even though it only happened like a couple of weeks ago. But I do feel that the score flatters Cardiff by 1 score, maybe.
Yeah, I think we were comfortably the better team.
We were comfortably the better team. because we just had that forward platform and they
Yeah.
didn't. And you can't win games with that. So, yeah, again, and we come out of that game. Obviously, so I was with James Phillips and Hugh and Yestin and whatnot, and we came out that. So I was relying on your guys' updates, and
Yeah.
then as I was walking into the stadium, we're like, "It's a go. We just need the bonus point win." And because I was watching the bastard Scarlets game, I couldn't get excited for it because I was watching, them shucks.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't sat by many Ospreys fans. They were probably, I think they were sat on the other side of like where we were. But there was just that. I was just like, oh my god, hello,
Yeah.
hello, what is happening?
It was magic. Like that morning, because the other games being like a midday and a 2 p.m. kickoff because they were cramming them all into the Saturday, meant that like I pretty much got up and after like an hour or two on that Saturday was into this like incredibly tense, like, 2% chance. And yet watching all the results fall into place slowly was kind of magical as a morning. And I'd almost lost my voice by the time the Ospreys game kicked off. And I spent it basically clapping and pacing around and watching the tries come in one by one. And the moment Luke Morgan scores that fourth and they're in, and he's like, we've just got to close this game out now, was, I mean, again, we've had a few of them this season of like almost all-timer Ospreys moments. If you had to put together like an all-time top 50 Ospreys moments, would probably make the list, would almost definitely be on the list. And we've put together a few of them this season, and that was one of them, was that day, seeing those results come in, and then Luke Morgan getting that fourth try, and then Sam Parry or the Mr. P try getting that fifth try.
So we win that, and so then we go to Munster, and the Munster stuff's been done to death, right?
Yeah.
But the overriding feeling was we came out of that happier in the loss than we did at Gloucester, because we did fire shots.
Yeah.
Were we best in our execution? No, and that's the evolution of this team now, is to be able to execute them chances.
Yeah.
So the theme of this season actually is probably look at Glasgow, you look at Edinburgh, you look at Munster away. Is that at half time we need to be better at making them decisions, or just before half time, or at crucial moments in the game, what are we doing? Do we take scrum? Do we take the line out? Things like that. So, in terms of the season, I've given it, I said on Rap, a B plus.
Sure, yeah, I think that's fair.
I think for me, that's the fairest. I think if you're giving it a B plus, though, you have to, in the context of the other regions, say that the other regions were all a D and below.
Sure. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like my GCSE maths, right? Which I went into expecting to fail. I was not good at maths. I hated maths. I had an awful maths teacher, Miss Van Marley, awful person, even worse teacher. I don't care that I've shouted her out. And I expected to fail maths. And somehow on the day, the paper arrived and it was entirely the things I knew. And if you'd asked me one different question, it wouldn't have gone that way. But I walked out there with a B. And I forever will have a B in maths to my name at GCSE level when I was not good enough to deserve that. And yet there was a moment of luck and there was a moment of like what I'd revised correctly. But like I came out of there with a B. And I kind of feel that's how the season's gone. Is like you go in with low expectations and you've come out with a B. And that feels like a fair result for the way things fell when given the odd stroke of luck or the odd stroke of luck against you and how they reacted.
See, if your GCSE maths is Ospreys, mine was Leinster, because I resat mine 3 times and got the same. Like literally not even the same grade, the same mark 3 times.
Shit.
So yeah, I did a Leinster. So right, that's the season. So I think we'll do very quickly. We'll do a little unofficial award ceremony.
Okay. Yes.
So we're not like other podcasts. We've not done your normal names. We're vibes based. So this is the Alan Davis's Face Award for Moment of the Season. So nominations are Dan Edwards' drop goal against Ulster. Ruben Morgan-Williams' try against Zebra. Hugh Sutton turning into a jackal machine in quarters. Toby Fricker existed. But I think that there's only one winner there. That's Dan Edwards' drop goal.
Yeah,
That will
I think
forever.
Cam Jones has tried at the Lions as well.
Cam Jones has tried, but
Also,
yeah.
But Cam Jones brackets which one?
Yeah, which one? So then we go into the Toby.
We just write Cam Jones on a bloody award and just like generally hand it out. They can have it alternate weekends.
We go then into the Toby Booth Award for Coach of the Season. Nominations are Duncan Jones for cutting his hair, Richard Fussell for being the most underrated fullback to ever exist, Mark Jones for changing my life, and Toby Booth. I think Mark Jones is the winner for me.
I think Mark Jones is the winner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's made an enormous difference on a rugby perspective. You know, Booth has had so much of the squad management and the man management and everything else, got it up to scratch. And Mark Jones was the missing piece in terms of having someone to really focus on the rugby side and allow Booth to be himself and do the things he does best.
We then go into the blood. Our Blood is Black Blood Transfusion Award for what the fuck moments of the season. And I struggled with this one. I was like, what are the shocking moments of the season? And I think it would have to be, for me, seeing how irate and angry Dewi Lake, Jack Morgan, Will Griffiths, Liam Edwards, and a coach got at Gloucester at every refereeing decision being set to them. And I think also how much Adrian Varney, Stephen Varney's dad, doesn't like me. Because he was sat in front of me. So then we move on to the I Just Love Playing on Grass Award for
yes
the season. So nominations are Toby Booth's post-match press conference against the Lions.
Yeah. Yes. In his hotel room.
Toby Booth and Lewis Lloyd post-match press conference against Ulster. Daniel Cassende,
Lance Bradley on this podcast.
Yeah, Lance Bradley on this podcast.
No corruption involved.
Post Scarlett's home. But the winner is, of course, Harry Deeb's post-sale, where he can't tell the time and he loves playing on grass.
A brilliant highlight. Just so fun, so enduring, so
the
like
best way,
him, you know?
The best way to describe how he answered at that interview was like watching a Reform UK voter answer a Vox Pop. I'm not saying Harry Deeves is a Reform UK
Very
voter.
much the opposite.
Very much the opposite. But what it did tell me is that he likes to go on tangents. So if you ask like a Reform UK voter why they don't want free Wi-Fi, because like the microwaves and the 5Gs and it's making the frogs gay or something like that. So
but get it. The underrated moment of the Harry Deeves interview that also sums up a lot about this squad for me is the moment he very offhand goes, playing out there with the boys that I love. And there's no like moment of hesitation over him telling the world in the biggest interview he's done in his career that he really loves those guys that he plays with, you know? And you wouldn't have necessarily seen that in rugby 10 years ago. And you wouldn't have necessarily seen that, you know, from many other clubs. But sums him up and sums that club up. And additional moment to Toby Booth being seen without trousers. Trousers, Lauren Jenkins.
That does go up there actually. So then we go into our Tyler Ardron Award for Best Player of the Season. I'm going for Morgan Morris, but
I wouldn't argue with you. But look, I've been beating this drum all year. Owen Watkin, Player of the Season, unbelievable, playing the best.
I'm going to make Yeston decide on Twitter. So then we're going to go into our Ruddy Zata. Oh, he's got it off to Hassler, which is, I think, the first joke we did on this podcast that stuck. But he has got it off to Hassler for the Justin Tipperick moment of the season. Go on, you.
Well, I think there's two or three. There was a turnover he made against Ulster in that Ulster game, which was phenomenal. There was the obvious try on Judgment Day. We starts with the quick tap, gets back involved and finishes it in the corner.
Tinas the
which
beer
is
puts him into some concrete.
yeah. There was him emerging at the start of the season with that hair,
Yeah,
which deserves another moment. There was the Zebra game in general, where he was phenomenal on his 200th
who
game
wins this game? Yeah, that was to be
with
my.
everyone with the hats, which is somewhere
Yeah,
off in
it's in
the office
my
here.
parents' house, I think.
And then we have, and like weirdly, this is kind of like it for me, but like there was a moment quite late on where Cardiff were getting back in the game, and you had a very similar thing in the Sale game, in which when Sale were getting back in the game, and both of these kind of grouped together for me, where out of nowhere Tipprick flies out the line and just nails a ball carrier, and he
Yes,
like,
it's the. Oh, I know they highlighted this on Scrum 5.
hmm,
It was actually his tackle selection.
yeah, unbelievable. And just the
Yeah,
way he smoked and completely closed down all momentum. And he didn't win a turnover from it, but he killed momentum. He killed the attack, led in both cases the opposition kicking the ball away, Ospreys regathering it, and the game turns from there. Their momentum kind of ceases. Both of them on just one tackle, one smartly chosen tackle, knowing when to rush up. And that for me, as much as like anything he can do with the ball in hand, much as if we'd done this the previous season, would have been that try against Montpellier, which is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. But
yeah,
actually, his ability and his rugby intelligence all around the game for me is why he's the best Osprey of all time. And I'll always bite this drum
yeah.
and I'll always stand by this.
I agree. He is Mr. Osprey.
I had a hot take loading to second half of the season that Morgan Morris should be captain next season ahead of him. And the thing is, the moment he came back in, I was like, no, that's stupid. This
No,
stupid. It's
we have
obviously
said this
tips. It's
about
got to be
Morgan Morris
tips.
though.
Yeah.
Me and you are both on record to say that Morris is a club captain
Yeah.
type player.
And I think he maybe is when Tipprick retires in 28 years' time.
Yeah.
For me, no, Tipprick's still got to be captain next season because he is Justin Tipprick and he is Mr. Ospreys, as you say.
Yeah. So yeah,
I actually said Mr. Nos there, which is a very different accusation.
I mean, he is from the right part of Wales.
That's true.
So I think we've been going a while.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we have.
On the whole, and we did say we were going to go a while because it was the end of the season spectacular.
Sure.
Season's been great.
Yeah.
We've overachieved. I've loved everything of it. In terms of the pod, this has been at times frustrating, at times time consuming, but actually as three mates who have grown to become mates because we all sort of each other. I knew Yestin. I sort of had some interactions with you before. You and Yestin have had interactions to become mates, like genuine mates where we've gone to the rugby together. You know, we've done all these things to sit down on a Wednesday where we all lead different lives of varying degrees of stress.
Yeah.
Where we just sit and chat about the club that we love.
Yeah.
And we made a decision from very early on that this was not going to be a stats pod or one where we're doing in-depth discussion about ruck speed and, you know, how often we get it to the 13 channel. And that's not to disparage the other boys and the other pods because they all do amazing work for their thing.
And, you know, it'll come up when it comes up. Like, it's not that we're against doing
No, it's not. But as a collective, we just wanted to celebrate the fun that is being an Ospreys fan.
But I said this during the Six Nations that, you know, you said, like, if I want any time off when, you know, it's busy during the Six Nations, then by all means. I was like, no, but like, to me, this is like going to the pub for an hour, you know, and just talking about your sports team. Because I don't live near any Ospreys fans. I don't have, you know, other than my brother who's a floating regional fan. The Switzerland of Welsh rugby. You know, I've really enjoyed doing it, and yeah, thank you for having me.
But then also for me, like, who's the novice to this industry, is that Yestin is journalism, Robbie's obviously internet celebrity. It has changed my life. Like, you know, and I'm very proud of my contribution to it. In that, you know, we are now on 605 followers on X, which is mental because it's the same as the Scarlet's pod, who are much bigger than us and, you know, do a lot better advertising. I forget to fucking post the pod link most weeks, but in just as a collective, like we, you know, on X, I like to say, I think we're liked. You know, we have a laugh with people. We have a incredibly dedicated set of fans who have said hi to us, who have supported us. You know, so as a thank you, I just want, you know, I can't thank you all enough. You have changed my life. You know, I've had an incredibly turbulent year, becoming a dad, doing various different things, and this has been a constant throughout. And yeah, so if you've ever liked a pod, read a review, given us a hate comment, whatever you've done, like, thank you. We discussed off air how we're going to start next season, and going to blow everything that we've done out the water. And there are big plans for next year, and you know, the pod will only grow, because it is an exciting time to be a fan right now.
Yeah, so, I'd like to think so.
Keep the faith. It's a great time to be a fan. It's frustrating. We get it. You know, the not being picked for Wales, the not feeling that we're represented, things like that. We get it. But as an Ospreys fan, there's no better time to be a fan, I think. So from the bottom of our heart, for the final time this season, we will be back potentially for an episode in mid-July, is all I'm going to say. But definitely for the start of pre-season, start at the end of pre-season, start next season. Thank you so much. We will see you soon. Have a good one.
Hold on. Very quick.
Hello.
Rod on Twitter mentioned, look, very, very kindly, you know, really appreciates, you know, Lance interview, yes, and getting nerdy about the community game, which we love. Anytime that listening questions is fun. However, he did say the most important note, which is that he misses Robbie's film reviews. So I want to say, before Viaplay closes down, while we've still got access to it, right? One last Viaplay film of the week. Borg McEnroe, starring bloody Stellan Skarsgård and Shia LaBeouf as the Borg and John McEnroe, which I remember seeing in the Cineworld in Nottingham, and then getting mugged on the way home. And nothing was stolen.
I'm sorry.
All of the knowledge, all of the film has been pushed out of my head. But I remember walking down a back alley and someone trying to punch me and steal my phone. One or twice I've tried to be mugged. I've had an attempted mugging on me. Hey, Nottingham, not as bad as you'd think. And look, I can't tell you any more about the film. Shia LaBeouf's in it. He's a piece of shit. But as I remember, he's all right as John McEnroe. Sort of very back and forth, like very like straight sports biopic. I briefly scrolled through Viaplay. We're running out of films I've seen.
I really like Shia LaBeouf as an actor, but he's not a nice person. I'm looking at the Borg versus McEnroe thing, and I can't not see Shia LaBeouf. It just looks like Sam Transformers with a headband on.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. Fair enough.
There we go. I will tell you what, the square's on. I have seen the square. The square's good. There you go. That's better. That's better than Paul McEnroe. But I won't go into detail. We don't need that right now. We can do it next season.
Jason Forbes in this film.
The square.
No, in Borg McEnroe.
Oh, Borg McEnroe.
Okay. Anyway, so that's been us. On behalf of Yeston as well, he thanks you, and we'll see you either in mid-July for something very special, or we'll see you at the start of the season. Either way, next year's going to be great.
I will pick a different streaming service to run through every week.
Yeah. We are going. If you thought the tangents and the jokes were bad this year, Ruddy Data will come back out of retirement. I'm telling you. Yeah, so we shall see you soon. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for having us in your ear.